John Vincent's got a plan to lead, fighting for the things we need. Family strong, farmers stand tall. He's fighting for us all. Oh, catch the Vincent vibe. Oh, let's take this ride from the coast to the countryside. We've got the Vincent vibe. From Moore County where the beaches shine to Georgetown where the rivers wind, Chesterfield stands strong and true. Marion County, we're fighting for you. Dillon's got that southern pride, Marlboro County by our side. Florence blooms like flowers in May, Darlington's racing all the way. Oh, catch the Vincent vibe. Oh, let's take this ride from the coast to the countryside. We've got the Vincent vibe. They say one voice can make a change, but together we can rearrange the power back where it belongs, in the people's hands, in the people's songs. Myrtle Beach to Conway Town, Georgetown's charm won't let you down. Marion, Mullen standing side by side, Dillon and Bennettsville, we hear your pride. Florence City, Darlington to Hartsville, Sherall, we're here for you. Surf the waves, plow them roads, from sunrise to sunset, our spirit grows. Oh, catch the Vincent vibe. Oh, let's take this ride. John Vincent's got the people's pride. We got the Vincent vibe. People over politics. Everybody now. We got the Vincent vibe. One more time. Yeah, the Vincent vibe. That's right, South Carolina District 7. Oh, we've got the Vincent vibe. John Vincent for Congress. People over politics.
All right, are we live?
I believe we are.
Says the video should start soon on the Facebook event. Just doing a technical check.
Okay.
Yeah. And hopefully we can get started once we're live.
Yeah, man. Oops. My bad. There we go.
All right, so we're going to sit here and chat for a minute while this technical thing happens, John, because
Alrighty.
2026 and technology. All right, we are officially live. We are good to go. Welcome, everyone. All right, we are good to go. Scott, we are good to go. My name's Jenny Ashley, Dr. Jenny Ashley, and I'm the campaign manager for John Vincent, who's running for Congress in the 7th Congressional District. We are really excited for having everyone join us today. So please invite your friends, share this video, share it on all platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, share it as much as you can. We're going to hopefully get some good conversation, get some good things going. And yeah, I'm excited to introduce you to our future congressman here representing the 7th Congressional District, the Great Eight, as we like to call it, the Great Eight.
Great eight. There it is.
Counties. And so, John, tell me, who are you? Tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I will just give a little bit of a shortened version, Doc, of our campaign for the folks that don't know anything about me. So over a year, I've been traveling the Great Eight here, the 8 counties. And I hear stories like the lady in Marion who says, you know what, I worked really hard, I retired, and now what am I doing? I'm picking and choosing, picking between groceries and picking between food and gas and choosing what bills I can pay. And I ran into somebody who has a small business, Doc, down in Georgetown. Her electricity has doubled in the last year, and now she doesn't think she's going to make it to the end of the year. Couple in Conway, their insurance has gone up $15,000 in the last $15,000 in the last 2 years. And I just more and more and more. I mean, this is reality for most of the folks here in the Grade A. The construction plant, they were building an electric vehicle plant, you know this, Doc, in Florence. Yeah, it was in Florence, and they stopped it between the big, beautiful bill and tariffs. Closed. 1,600 jobs never manifested. So thank you all for being here. My name is John Gregory Vincent. I am the Democratic nominee for Congress to represent you in South Carolina's 7th Congressional District. I am a husband to an amazing woman, Deb. Some of you have met many times. Father of 2, grandfather of a beautiful little girl, Eliza, born 3 months ago. Additionally, 20-year Navy veteran and also a small business owner. 20 years serving the country on submarines. Probably the most hostile environment in the universe, much less on Earth. I've done 18 submarine deployments, well over 1,000 days at sea. When you're on a submarine, you are in imminent danger 24/7. I rose to the position of Command Master Chief, a position less than 1% of people ever achieve. And I had to make personal decisions on some of those operations I did where if I got it wrong, people died. So I understand leadership under pressure. And one of the funny things here, I'm a moderate Democrat. I have very social positions in some areas, very socially progressive positions. I have very conservative positions. And people say, hey, John, how are you going to withstand that pressure that you're going to be under? And I say, you know what? 14 years on submarines, I'll be just fine. Going to vote what's best for the people of this district and what supports the Constitution. Hey, on a more serious note, though, than the Command Master Chief thing, my life hasn't always been without challenges. I suffered from alcoholism for many years, and today, 23 years sober. And I'm not ashamed of that journey. I'm actually proud of it because recovery taught me humility, accountability, brought me to Christ. So how can I possibly be ashamed by any of that? But I want to keep it brief because this is about your questions and me answering them directly. So let's have some real talk, though. These are tough times. And tough times require strong leaders, not political hacks like the guy I'm running against, Russell Fry. He has one priority, and that is his career. He assumes election, and nothing shows that better than the fact that now he's running for senator. He doesn't want to be the representative in South Carolina 7. He's actually fine that if things work out the way he wants them, there'll be no representative here at all for 6 months because he's got to resign the seat. He wants you to vote for him and then say thank you, no thank you, literally the next day. He's not a representative who serves with honor, with courage, or with commitment. And that's just not acceptable to me. As I've said many, many times, I don't care that he's a Republican. I don't play the R&D game. He's just a terrible representative. As I've said, I wouldn't have run against Tom Rice. Tom Rice, a bit more conservative than I care to be, but he served with honor, courage, and commitment. That's good enough for me. 75% of this district say they're worse off now than they were 3 years ago. 75%. Gas up, diesel up, groceries up. A war we have no idea why we got into and now have no idea how to get out. Real wages for the median income here, which is 57,000, is down, not up. 67% of the people surveyed by WPDE, the ABC affiliate here, said they had to postpone or cancel needed medical care because they couldn't afford it. Needed medical care. Folks, we're not in a good position. And I know through these questions we're going to get, I'll give you the answers to some of the things that I'm going to do. But I will answer all questions directly, without hesitation, no political spin. If I don't know what I'm going to do, I'll say I don't know what I'm going to do. So I am very excited. We're going to do, what are we doing, Doc? We're going to do 4 virtuals and 5 in-person town halls between now and Election Day. So, folks,
yeah, your calendar is going to be super backed.
All right. Well, you know what? Enough about me. What about the people that joined tonight, Doc?
Yeah, definitely. So, big question we're getting everywhere. I don't know if you've seen the news. I paid attention to the news this week. It seems like your opponent has decided to run for a different office while running for this office as well. So he's running for U.S. Senate, the late Lindsey Graham, his seat, and he's running against you. Yes. What is going on?
Yeah, the South Carolina Election Commission, Doc, this isn't illegal, okay? It's just unprecedented. And they said, well, how do we clear a path for this guy? And they basically said, it's fine to run for 2 federal offices at the same time. So if this plays out, and this is important for the folks that are tuned in tonight, it doesn't matter whether he wins the primary or not. I want to take you through his thought process, because his thought process is he wants to be a senator. This has been a placeholder for him. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to be a senator. This is his first shot. So he's literally saying, here's the deal, folks. I don't really want to represent you. I want to be a senator, but let's plead this the safe seat. Let's see if I can serve 2 masters here. We all know that's not possible, but that's what he wants to do. Here's how it plays out in Russell Fry's world. He keeps here. He's running against me. If he wins his primary, he's going to run against Dr. Annie Andrews for Senate. Let's say he wins both of those. Clearly, that's what he's thinking. Well, he wants you to vote for him on November 3rd. And then on November 4th, it could be somewhere between 4th and January, but it works better for this example. Literally the next day, he's going to say, thanks for your vote, I quit. And he's going to vacate South Carolina House. Here's the kicker that I say, Russell Fry, the R after Russell Fry's name, Doc, isn't for Republican. It's for Russell. And here's why. When he vacates this seat, a lot of people think, well, no big deal. The Republican, someone will just put another Republican in there. No, it requires a special election. He literally will quit and leave us unrepresented and the Republican Party without a representative in Congress. That's how little this guy cares, not just for this district, but for his own party. I don't know how anyone can be okay with that. Obviously, not my call. So that's what would happen if the world plays out the way he wants to, Doc.
And I saw today in an article that the special election for U.S. Senate is going to cost taxpayers $2 million. So if you think about that, too, there would have to be a special election for SC7, which could cost millions of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. So it only adds to, I won't call it fiscal irresponsibility, but the thing is that's not part of his calculus. His calculus is simple. I want to be where I want to be. Who gets hurt? How much money we waste? Be damned. It is a very clear picture of someone who, as I've said, you've heard this many times. I actually said it in my opening. I'm not running against this guy, Doc, because he's a Republican. He's just a horrible representative. And if there were any questions about that, He's shown where his heart is, where his mind is, and where his attentions is. He is a career politician who has one objective, Russell Fry.
Right. Well, we have some questions coming in, so that's really exciting. Thank you, everyone
Cool.
who's joining. Again, share this on all your platforms, share the link, share everything you can. So we do have a question from Dale in Horry County. Dale said, I voted Republican my whole life, but I'm open to hearing you out. What do you say to people like me who think Democrats want to take away our guns and raise our taxes? Why should I trust you with my vote?
Ah, that's a heck of a first question. All right, hey, thank you for that question. Was it Dan? Who?
Dale.
Dale, thanks for that question. Here's the deal. We try to brand people and say, you're not a human being, you're a Democrat. You're not a human being, you're a Republican. We have to break that paradigm. I am not a Democrat, okay? Here's the sequence. I am an American. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a grandfather now. I'm a small business owner. I am a vet. And yes, I'm a proud member of the Democratic Party. When we break that paradigm, we start saying, okay, who is this person? What does this person stand for? I don't stand for the party. I stand for the people of this district. I represent this district. I don't represent the country. My priorities, my focus are not the same as somebody who's in Portland, Oregon, nor should they be. We are individuals that fall under a broad tent. Once you start looking at that, you can break this paradigm of R and D. So the answer to you is, I am an independent guy. People cringe sometimes when I answer a question if they're very progressive, as my wife is, by the way. And sometimes they cringe if I answer in a more conservative fashion because I don't have a playbook. Dale, as far as your question, part two is how do we trust you? The only thing I can say is, and I said this in my opening, the pressure that supposedly I'm going to be under, and I'm sure I am, because I'm going to vote what's constitutional and best for this district. That's where I'm at. You either trust that I'm going to do that based on my 20 years of service, based on what I've done volunteer-wise, based on how I've conducted myself during this campaign, or you don't. I can't really prove to you I'm trustworthy, but look at the alternative. That's my best answer for that. Thank you for it, Dale.
We're all human. We're all people. You know, we matter. And I'm pretty sure when you're elected, you're not just going to say, I'm only going to listen to the Democrats. I'm only going to listen to people of one party. Yeah,
thank you. That's actually a good follow-up. Dale, I'm always assuming people have heard some things, but this might be your first entrance. I am a constitutionalist. All right. The Constitution requires me to represent everybody of this district, not people who donate to me, not people who vote for me, not people that I think I can get something out of or they can get something out of me. That's what the Constitution requires, that I go and what is best for the majority of people in this district. That is my job. I am a deliverer of, we the people doesn't mean a certain type of people. It means this country is supposed to be run by regular folks. That is we the people, and the government reports to we the people. I am the representative of we the people.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Well, that leads us into a great second question from James Earl, who lives in Horry County. Russell Fry has been a strong supporter of President Trump, and a lot of people around here still support the president. If Trump pushes legislation you agree with, will you vote against your own party?
Possibly. Here's what I would look at so everyone understands my filters. First and foremost, is it constitutional? He doesn't have the best track record on that. It's sort of the Constitution as I see it. Well, it's not the Constitution as I see it. It's the Constitution as it's written. So is it constitutional? If it's constitutional, okay. Second, is it good for the majority of people in this district, as I just said to Dale's question? So it's constitutional. It's good for most of the people in this district. And then I am a fiscal conservative. So, okay, if it costs money, how do we pay for it? How do we offset it? If it meets one, constitutional, good for the majority of people in this district. And three, it doesn't run up more debt for no reason at all. Now, he has not have a good track record in doing this, but I will tell everyone here, and it's going to be recorded, that if all those three criteria, sure, I'm a yes. If it doesn't meet one or more of those criteria, I'm a no. every time.
Okay. All right, we got a question from the chat from Miss Roxanne Edwards. Question: we are very concerned about the election itself, given the war on voting process pushed and promoted by the president.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts is I think those concerns are real. I think they're real. Here's how I feel about elections in general, and the Constitution is, here I go again, right, is very clear on this. Most decisions, most regulation, most oversight is to the state, right? It is very dangerous for us to have federal oversight into a hyper-local process. And nothing to me is more cherished, right? I mean, I gave up my right to vote. Submarines are not like being in another war zone. Submarines are not like, if you're deployed in an active duty conflict zone, you still have a chance to upload your absentee ballot. All right. On a submarine, depending on where you are in the cycle, you're not allowed to transmit. So I have literally given up that sacred right. So voting to me is not optional. So I take that very seriously. And I think we have to just make sure that we watch, right? And I mean poll watchers. I mean, we look out for maybe intimidation factors. The fact of the matter here, I'm sorry, was it Roxanne?
Yes.
Okay. Roxanne, the Heritage Foundation, right? The authors of Project 2025, not exactly a left-wing, a crazy think tank, when they looked at the number of illegal people here illegally that voted, they found 99 in the last two presidential elections. I'm going to give you the percentage, 0.000005025%. This whole election integrity thing, this whole we're being invaded, this whole they're stealing our data when you put it in. No election machine is tied. When you vote, it's not tied to anything. So I think, Roxanne, it is real. I think there are people that want to sow doubt, and I think they're doing that because they're not going to like the results of the midterm election. There is nothing more. If you are a patriot, nothing should anger you more than somebody messing with the elections. Specifically, what can we do? We can stay vigilant. We can bring things up when we see them. We can let authorities know if we feel there's people intimidating at the polls. We do what we have to do as citizens because our sacred right to vote cannot be infringed or abridged.
Absolutely. And we see.
Thanks for that question, Roxanne.
We see what they're trying to do with padding current legislation and throwing the SAVE Act into that. So it's just causing a lot of confusion and a lot of chaos. And that's exactly, they're trying to push fear, push confusion, and push chaos. And that's exactly what this administration has been doing.
Could I add one thing for Roxanne?
Yeah.
That might help some folks. Yeah, the SAVE Act. All right. Let's break it in two pieces. Picture ID. Okay. It's not the SAVE Act. That's a tiny little part of the SAVE Act. What this is doing specifically for women, specifically married women, is making this either expensive, difficult, or impossible to vote. The 19th Amendment specifically says, because the 19th Amendment is what gave the women a right to vote in 1920, specifically says that the right to vote for women, right, it's for everybody here, but in the 19th Amendment shall go unabridged, shall not be interfered with. It is unconstitutional to throw something in there to make it more difficult to vote. That does nothing for security. That does nothing for integrity. It is merely meant to disenfranchise voters, and it is unconstitutional. Voter ID, well, you have to have a picture ID. I can't find anything that's unconstitutional about that. But when you sell something as just the picture ID, when in fact that's this much of it, no, it's wrong.
Absolutely. All right. Paulette Kidd asked a very important question that I've been seeing all over the news, especially the younger generation is very concerned about this. Data centers. I've been to town halls where they say, well, the data centers are going to bring my community a lot of money. So that's what they're telling people. But Paulette asked, data centers and what happens to these buildings with the big tech companies don't need them anymore. So what's going on with data centers? Yeah,
data centers are tricky. We have an example of this in Marion. A data center started to come and then went away. So I'll use that example. First, I'll just, without any bias, tell you, here's what a data center will do. They'll do two things. They will bring a ton of money to the county. Typically, poor rural counties are their target audience. And let's say their budget is $28 million. They will say, we will give you $28 million a year. This is real. We will give you $28 million a year for, 3 years, 5 years or something. What could you do for your schools? What could you do? Okay. So here's what they then do. If they're interested in that, they lock the county down. They say you sign an NDA. You literally cannot disclose to a single person that's going to either benefit or be hurt by this data center. You can't talk to them. You can't say the name of our company. You can't do an environmental study. You can't do anything. You are locked down. Fundamentally wrong. Why do they do that? Because there's a lot of concerns with data centers. But let's say we go ahead here. Data centers initially provide jobs. They provide jobs in the form of construction. Most of those folks are going to come from someplace else. Most of that money is going to go someplace else because those companies are not from here. Now, there'll be some subcontracting and things, but most of that money and most of those jobs are not jobs. And they're certainly not permanent jobs because a data center employs almost nobody. Okay. We had a data center when we lived in North Carolina, Facebook, massive server farm. It was 300,000 square feet. It had 12 employees. 6 were from California. It employed 6 people. You have concerns, massive water consumption, massive electricity consumption. If they say, don't worry about it, we have backup generators, hundreds of them. Now you have pollution. Now you have noise pollution. There are many, many, many deep concerns I have about data centers. And here's where I fall as far as regulation goes. I think it's the federal government's job to do the following. No data center can throw an NDA on anybody. No data center can do anything to prevent people in that community from having a choice. I think that's a federal regulation. I think that local community, that local county should have the following. We get to pick who does the environmental studies. We get to pick who takes a look at real job growth and economic growth, but you, Mr. Company or Mrs. Company, you pay for it. So you get the bill, but we pick the people. And again, no behind the scenes, no NDAs. Now, I think after that, and there's a bill right now, South Carolina actually has a bill that addresses this and addresses some of the things they can and can't do. I think after that federal, I think then it becomes a state and local issue. I don't believe it's the federal government's job to tell a community what to do, but it is the federal government's job to make sure the playing field is level between a local community and some monstrous corporation that has one goal, making money.
Yeah.
I am concerned about data centers, but I don't think it's my job to say never do it because I believe that's a local decision, but federal oversight has to exist so people don't get taken advantage of and we don't destroy our environment.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big concern, especially for the younger generation. They are very concerned about it.
Yep.
So the Great Eight has rural counties, has a lot of rural counties. And we know that a little over a year ago, the one big, beautiful, disastrous, horrible, every single word in the thesaurus bill passed. And so the question from Kathy is, how do we fix this broken healthcare system? So like, what have you heard from people when you're campaigning? What is going on and what are your plans in this broken healthcare system?
Yeah, it is extremely broken. And to answer the first, was it Kathy?
Yeah.
Kathy, the part one of that is I opened with the 67% of people had to postpone or cancel. But it's actually much worse than that. And that's pretty bad. This is a county that because no extension was given, Russell Fry voted not to extend. We have over 100,000 people that use Affordable Care Act here. Average premium went up 30%. 30%. We have Marlboro County doesn't even have a hospital. We have almost 250,000 people that have to go at least a half hour to get to urgent care. And I mean critical care. Half hour, 250,000 people. It is unaffordable and the access is terrible. These Medicaid cuts that are coming, that is going to shrink the insurance pool, and shrinking the insurance pool puts more pressure, especially on our rural. We live in a district that's 70% rural. We live in a district that has 26% of our children live in poverty. 2 of our counties, it's over 40%. 40,000 households, SNAP, 100,000 Medicaid. Our median income here is 57,000. That's 33% low than the national average. We're 42nd in hourly wage here. How do we fix it? First and foremost, we have to go after the real issue. The real issue isn't the federal government giving more money to people for healthcare. The real issue is up until maybe a decade ago, healthcare was not a profit center. Healthcare companies, pharma companies, insurance companies, they weren't profit centers. They provided a service for people. And yes, you're supposed to make enough money to pay your employees, and that's fine. Now it's how much money can we make? And they essentially are charging whatever they want to charge. They're charging Medicare whatever they want to charge. If we want to reel in healthcare costs, the first stop is that industry. We go after that industry and we say, of course you're allowed. I'm not saying they go back to nonprofits. That genie's out of the bottle. But we regulate what they can charge. Why is it that when you go to a hospital, that bill says that your MRI costs $15,500, but if you go to an MRI center across the street and pay cash, it's $4,200?
Right.
Same machine. We have to get that under control. We have to regulate that. And then we have to look at a system that says, how do we do this equitably? Everything I look at, Kathy, is through a financial lens. I can make a very good argument for Medicare for all. Because Medicare for all, guess what? You can't do it tomorrow morning. This is a long process because in order to make it affordable, you have to fix the healthcare charges. You have to fix the insurance company structure. You have to fix what so this takes a long time. Anybody who says Medicare for all, let's do it tomorrow, they don't even know what they're talking about, or they're lying to get a vote. But Medicare for all makes good financial sense long term when you look at emergency room visits, when you look at uninsured, when you look at our rural hospitals that are closing, when you look at all those things. Medicare for all stabilizes healthcare for the people while those folks can make money in those industries. So my ultimate goal would be Medicare for all, but it'll outlive me. I'm 3 terms. I'm going to do 6 years and I'm gone, right? If I can't get term limits done, I'm term limiting myself. I don't think we'll see it if it's done responsibly, but I think we can move to every person in this country has health care. I don't think that's crazy, and I think it's actually a cost savings if it's done incrementally. So ultimately, Kathy, I want to see Medicare for all. The short term is I want to make sure Medicaid stays funded, Medicare stays funded, and ACA subsidies until we can replace that with something better. And I think it should be replaced. Until then, people should get their subsidies. They didn't make this problem. We offered it to them, and now we're saying we don't have our poo together, so oh well, stinks to be you. No. We have an obligation to get to a point where we don't need the subsidies, but until we do, we continue the subsidies. Our job is to fix things, and it starts with going after these companies that are charging whatever, and you and I are paying the cost, and a lot of people are uninsured, especially in our district. That's my long-term, Kathy, and it's not the political answer. I fix it tomorrow. You can't fix it tomorrow, but you can work towards Medicare for all. It makes good financial sense if you look at it.
But also, if you have healthy people, then you have healthy children, then you have healthy workers, then you have a healthy economy.
Yeah.
Because we're going to work and people are going to work sick because they can't afford to go to the doctor.
Fair point. And that's all part of the prevention as opposed to keeping you alive sick, which is a much bigger problem that has to be done in conjunction with negotiations. Keep in mind that the healthcare industry is not incentivized by preventative medicine. They're incentivized for sick people because there's no money in healthy people. And that's not a cabal, a secret, a nasty, but your point is very well taken, Doc, because there's not a lot of money in helping people with annual physicals and maybe some of the things that pop up in our normal lives. There's a lot more money in in very, very sick people. So the entire structure is actually set up not to necessarily make us sick. We can get into the food industry and go there, but certainly not to necessarily prevent us from getting sick. There's not a lot of money in prevention. So that's a whole different bag of worms. I was trying to talk about specifically Kathy's point, but your point's well taken as well, Doc.
All right. We have a question from Susan in Surfside Beach. And it is about the national debt. And that kind of leads into, we were just talking about healthcare, the big, beautiful bill, the big, disastrous bill. So the question is, what do we do about this national debt? I'm pretty sure it's not under control. Last I checked, and we were supposed to get so much money from these tariffs, and we were supposed to wipe out the national debt. And So what are we going to do about this national debt? Because I think independents, moderates, Republicans need to hear how we're going to fix this.
Yeah. Um, we're coming up on $40 trillion. Last year, the big, beautiful bill, when you amortize it out, it added another $3.4 trillion. We're spending money like a drunken sailor, which I can say because I used to be a drunken sailor. And it's absolutely unsustainable. I have said for probably 20 years that our national debt is the silent killer of this country. We can haggle about everything we want to haggle about, and we can play politics back and forth. If we don't get this under control, it will consume this country. There won't be Medicare. There won't be Medicaid. There won't be Social Security. If you get a mortgage, it'll be 30% because we have no credit worthiness anymore. When the bonds are gone, when we've eaten the Social Security fund, we've reclaimed all those bonds because we already have a shortfall. So what do? This is where we have to make hard choices. Just because it's wonderful and it's going to help a lot of people, I have a responsibility as your legislator to make some hard choices on how do I offset this? How can I afford to do something wonderful in the healthcare arena that doesn't add 2, 3, 4 trillion? Because it might help me get reelected. It might help me get cheers at the town halls that I promised to do, 12 of them a year, by the way, as opposed to my opponent who's never run one ever in 3 years. I digress. So I might get cheers and handshakes and I might get reelected, but I just became the guy I said I wasn't, which is I'm hoping to get in there, get out, and nobody realizes I contribute to the destruction of the company. So at its core, that's how we have to do this. We have to look at budgets just like everybody on this call has to look for budgets. If we run up every credit card, if we do whatever, if we go on vacation after vacation and we can't afford it, we go bankrupt. Very bad things happen to us. The federal government is essentially already bankrupt, and we just keep spending. So we have to say, what do we cut? Let me give you an example. The Iran war. Iran war, we had no plan. I will tell you from someone who lived in the operational world at the tip of the spear for 14 years, when you go into a mission without an outcome that you want to see, that mission will be a disaster. That's what we did. We got in, we didn't know what we were getting into. We came up with 30 different reasons why we got in there. We had no measurable outcome, and now we have no way to get out of this thing. And it's going to go on and on and on. Conservatively, we're already 85 billion in the hole. Administration wants a short-term 75 billion just to keep going. So now we're at 160 billion. Last year, we upped the federal budget for the military by 180 billion. Next year, they're asking for 435 billion. By the way, Russell Fry's good for all this. 435 billion, a 42% increase in the defense budget. The last time we had a 42% year-over-year increase in the defense budget was World War II. It's insane. We have to be fiscally responsible, and if we're America first, that money first is here. It's not in foreign wars. It's not in forever wars. It's not spending what's going to be about $800 billion in defense. We need to make hard choices. We need a responsible review of the federal government. Think back to the Clinton administration. In 2000, this budget was balanced. In 2001, we had a surplus. Here's how that happened. You had a Democratic president who was focused on the debt, and for most of his presidency, you had a conservative Republican Congress. And they fought like cats and dogs and yelled at each other, but they were both focused on reducing debt. That's what we need again. The federal government has a lot of bureaucracy. Doge gave us a good example. I hope you know that this is what my company does, is organizational development. We know how to do this responsibly. This is a 6 or 8 year process to cut waste, to get the VA to actually back the care of our veterans and not bureaucracy. So we have to review the government. We have to stop spending recklessly in military, and we have to look at other ways where we say what is worth it for the people of the country and what is just nice fluff for very, very wealthy people and massive corporations. We can start pumping the brakes immediately. This is probably a 20 to 30 year problem to actually solve. That's the reality.
Yeah. So we had a couple questions pop up about term limits.
Yes.
So term limits not only for our members of the U.S. House and U.S. Senate, but also for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So, what is your plan to address term limits? What is your policy position on term limits? And what is your plan when elected?
Yeah. Term limits. I think I just said this, but I often forget what I just said. I'm a three-term guy for me. I'm going to do 3 terms. I'll be elected twice. I'm going to do 6 years, and then I'm going to find a wonderful person to replace me, and carry on the tradition of a moderate, reasonable view focused on people, not focused on politics. That's me, because it's funny how everybody says they're for term limits, but they don't term limit themselves and they don't vote for it.
Never,
It's great
never.
on the campaign trail. Can we start holding people accountable for what they promise us and don't do? So here's how I would like to see it. I find it just mathematically kind of reasonable, even though I'm a 3-term House guy. If folks don't know, the House terms are 2 years, Senate terms are 6 years. So I can live with 6 terms for the House, which is 12 years, and 2 terms for the Senate, which is 12 years. So I think we have to keep trying to do term limits. How successful that is, I don't know, because you're asking people who have been in office forever to terminate themselves and to terminate the next generation. Here's how I'm going to approach it, and this is a very different way to approach it. I'm going to approach it this way: you're grandfathered or grandmothered, whatever word you want to use. In other words, if you've been in the House of Representatives for 193 years, you're not going to be affected by this. You're going to be affected people downstream. You have a much better chance of getting people to vote for term limits when it doesn't affect them. They can actually turn that into a campaign slogan. I know I've been here for 132 years, but guess what? I'm for term limits for everybody under the age of 112. So that's how I'm going to approach it. Is we've always tried to do this and just say you can't run for re-election. You're not going to get the votes that way. The way you get, folks, I've been leading for decades. You have to compromise. You have to compromise to get things done. Hey, get these guys out of here I'm not going to. I need their votes to get term limits done. So my approach is going to be, if you've been in for, I don't care, 6 years, 40 years, you're fine. We're talking about new legislators. We got a shot at that because it's a good campaign position for them to stay in office forever, which is fine because eventually they, deselect. I think everyone knows what I mean. I like the idea of term limits for the Supreme Court. Constitutionally, that's a tricky one. Okay. So there isn't anything, it's a lifetime appointment. So I think that would require a constitutional amendment, and we have to do a workaround. For folks that don't know, here's how a constitutional amendment works. You need 2/3 of the House to vote for it. You need 2/3 of the Senate. Think of that, 2/3. 2/3 of the Senate, and then here's the big kicker. You need 3/4 of the states to ratify it. It's a very high lift, which is why we haven't had a constitutional amendment in like 50 years. So I like the ideas of term limits, and to be honest, I don't know what the vehicle is to do that, but I think it's a very good idea. I don't like lifetime appointments in people that really have no accountability. They don't answer to anyone. That's a very scary thought in a democratic constitutional republic for me. I think that has to be done, but the mechanism for that one's tricky. But a great question, and we need term limits. And the way you do it is you exempt everybody who's there now. You can get their vote then. And oh, well, that's not right. How are we doing with that so far? Everybody runs on it. Nobody does it. I want to get stuff done, folks.
Right. Absolutely. So circling back to Jay is asking about the war in Iran, and it's specifically asking about the war power resolution.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been following along. There's just, I thought I went to school and learned how we go to war. I could have sworn that they teach that in Political Science 101. Maybe I fell asleep during that class in college, but I could have sworn this is not how we're supposed to go to war. So like with the wars power resolution, like what would you do? How should this administration be handling this? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are straight out of Article 1, I think it's Section 8. This can only be done through congressional. You don't go to war. You don't risk our soldiers, our sailors, our airmen, our Marines, our Coast Guardsmen. You don't do that without the Congress. Why? Because the Congress represents the people, and the people should have a vote in where we go and where we sacrifice. We've lost 16 people, and nobody can tell me why we're even there, because the whole this is about nuclear whatever, that's a lie. I mean, we're talking now about letting Saudi Arabia enrich. So it's not about that. I don't know what it's about. So the War Powers Resolution is not an optional document. I don't want to hear for folks go, well, you know, they didn't do that for Korea, right? I don't know about then, and I don't care about then. I care about the Constitution. What is going on in Iraq is unconstitutional. And when you vote against this, which Russell Fry did, by the way, he voted against the War Power Resolutions. He's done it twice now. He's fine with one man deciding where we go, who dies, who lives, where we waste our money. And this is the guy that ran on no more foreign wars, no foreign interventions, America first. None of this is that. I am a hard no on any war that is not approved by Congress. Here's how I feel. This is a bigger answer, Jay. I had arguments on active duty with a 3-star admiral, a wonderful man, and we saw the different side. I was a minimalist as far as military intervention went when I was a command master chief. Here's what I mean by a minimalist. You do not go to war, ever, until you have tried everything else. Diplomacy, soft power, sanctions. You don't want to go to war. It is horrible. It is terrible. It is people that are going to die. You better darn sure make sure that it's an imminent threat to our country and nothing else is going to happen. Because when you say, let's go to war, this isn't limited strike garbage. You have to have the mindset as Americans, and certainly as people that are going to be serving in Congress, we're going to assume if we say war, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of sons, daughters, mothers, fathers are going to die. And if the answer to that is, I don't like that, then you don't go to war. We have gotten very casual about that word and very casual about foreign intervention. And people are dying, and we're wasting money, and we're losing credibility all over the world because we treat it very cavalierly. I will never, ever take that obligation lightly to vote to put my fellow veterans, sons and daughters in harm's way. Active duty military will not happen unless we are under imminent threat and we have tried everything else or.
All right, rapid fire. Based on what you're hearing in the district, top 3 issues that matter most to the people that you're meeting in the district.
Just daily costs of groceries, of gas now. I didn't hear a lot of gas until the war started, but groceries, gas, insurance costs, electricity comes up quite frequently. The other big one that I hear all the time, Doc, is healthcare, access to healthcare and affordability of healthcare. That's putting more people in a poor position than everything else is doing as well. So those would be the big ones: gas, groceries, overall affordability, electricity costs, and the cost and access of healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel it when I fill up my vehicle. I feel it. I don't remember paying this much a year ago.
Yeah, you weren't.
Yeah. So we did have a comment from Harry that got popped up on the screen. So I definitely want to make sure you point it out, but makes a great point. MUSC is making great strides in building hospitals and facilities more accessible to rural South Carolina, especially District 7. Have you been in contact with those leaders to show your support with hospital leaders?
I have been not with MUSC, if that was the question.
Just but hospital leaders and general leaders.
but learning what their biggest area of needs and biggest concerns. And their biggest concerns right now are Medicaid. In the rural areas, they're terrified of the cuts that are coming to Medicaid because that is the lifeline of money for hospitals in rural areas. We are down to single threaded in every one of our counties, except for Marlboro, who already doesn't have a hospital. That's their big terror, is the loss of Medicaid. If they lose 15% of their Medicaid, meaning people's Medicaid is lost, yes, it's horrible for the individual. It's going to be more horrible for everybody because people that are fine and they're wealthy and they don't need Medicaid, that hospital is going to be gone for them too. It's a big.
Right. All right. Steve Miller asks, and this is really exciting. As a Republican who chooses country over party, what are we going to do to help veterans as fellow countrymen?
Yes. Oh man, that's a setup for another core passion of mine. Here, I'll tell you, I've been retired for quite some time, and my passion is specifically related to veteran care. The VA exists for veteran care. It has turned into a bunch of very, very good people that really, really want to care, but they're surrounded by a absolutely stifling bureaucracy. You spend so much time paperwork. You spend so much time waiting for an appointment because they're understaffed in the front end and they're overstaffed in the back end. That's why I said defense and VA, we need a complete review of those first and then the whole federal government second. To Steve's point exactly, I'll tell you where my passion lies for what we're going to move on with VA. First of all, there's a lot of little subtle attacks here. Russell Fry voted for a bill that was going to cut disability. If you had tinnitus, if you had sleep apnea, you're going to lose disability percentage for that. He voted for that bill. And there's other sneaky stuff going on. Nobody's touching VA disability. And addiction care. 70% of our 30,000 homeless veterans, 70% of the 19 veterans still on average every day that kill themselves suffer from some form of addiction. And we don't do anything about it. Politicians sit there and they shake my hand and they shake Steve's hands. Full disclosure, Steve and I are buddies. I didn't know his question, but we're friends. They shake Steve's hand, they take a picture with him, they say, hey, airborne all the way, and they do nothing. It's a national disgrace. Veterans are a priority until we have to throw some money at it and we have to fix a broken system. This Command Master Chief, by the way, there has never been a Command Master Chief nominated for federal office, nor has there been one to ever serve in federal office. I'll be the first. You don't mess with a Command Master Chief who's ticked off about how you're treating veterans. These guys have no idea what they're up against. I am going there to finally bring respect to those that served. Not a talking point. People are going to have to look me in the eye and answer to me on national television why they don't support addiction care legislation that'll finally address, won't solve it, will address those 30,000 homeless vets and those veterans that are taking their life every day, which nobody supports, but nobody does anything about. I will.
Right. My dad was veteran Army. So sorry, John. Go Army. Army beat Navy.
Did you see the Army-Navy game last year? Enough said.
I'm going to combine Buzz's question with a question we have from Sandra because it's about protecting our coastline, protecting our parks, protecting our environment, our ecosystems. So talking about protecting that and then offshore drilling. Your district is the coastal district. You and SC1, y'all are the coastal areas. Hurricane season is upon us. We have to protect our environment. We have to protect our shoreline and our coastline. So what are your plans to address stuff like that, like offshore drilling, protecting our parks, protecting our ecosystem?
Yeah, we have everything from the flooding issues in Conway coastally, and then just coastal erosion and offshore drilling and offshore rigs and these type of things. Okay, there's two arguments here. I come from the environmental argument predominantly, but you also have to make the business case for it because that's just how things work in Washington, D.C. From an environmental standpoint, think of what would happen to fisheries, to tourism, if we allow offshore drilling. We've seen it happen. This isn't theoretical. We see what happens when there is a single rupture in a single pipe. You can't put it back in the bottle. You destroy things. You destroy the ecosystem. You destroy reefs and fishing. You destroy a coastline that's going to take forever to come back. I am an absolute hard no, not just for my coast, because I have a responsibility as a congressperson for the entire country, right? What's good for the country is typically good for a district. I'm a no on offshore drilling anywhere in this country. We need more renewables. I mean, do we need any more proof than a crazy country shutting an international waterway to show just how dependent we are on a nut job country in the Middle East? We need more renewables, right? We cut all this stuff out in the big, beautiful bill. It's why that EV plant was never built. So we need to build that up. As far as just the coastline and parks and things like that, Deb and I, we don't have any time for it now, but we are nature folks. Those things are precious to us. I don't want condominiums where there once was open land. Enough of it. We have to get much smarter about where we build, where we develop, because it's not just the traffic, folks. It's not just the infrastructure. You may not think it's a big deal when we have less bird population and less bees. Well, it is a big deal because it destroys things that can't be replaced. We need to protect what we have. I'm not a no building guy, but I am a guy that says you're not touching a park. You're not touching these land, the land that we've been gifted, and just abuse it to make profits. Because there's a lot of folks where that is their only sanctuary because they can't afford 12 acres of property in the country. So you have an advocate for protecting what we have, for being smart about development, and for never, ever, ever supporting in any way, shape, or form offshore drilling. Oh, so by the way, if you don't care about that, it's really bad for tourism too. So if everything I said doesn't touch you, it's really bad for tourism when you have oil on animals.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's pretty bad. So last question before we wrap up, and I'm going to combine a couple of these questions. And Patricia from Murrells Inlet said, I don't consider myself Democrat or Republican. I just want someone who will work across the aisle to get things done. Can you give me a specific example of where you'll work across the aisle? And I want to add, when we flip the House, when we flip the Senate, you will still have Donald Trump as president. Yep. So compromise has to happen. So they're asking, what are some of the issues that you will compromise and work with Republicans? I think so I know we only have a couple of minutes. So I think healthcare is a good example. I want to take on that healthcare industry, right? And I know, depending on where you are in the aisle, by the way, anybody who's heard me speak, I'm the guy in the middle of the aisle. If it's good for the country, if it's constitutional, if it's good for the people of this district, I don't really care if it started with an R or a D on it. Healthcare, I think, is a great example. There's going to be people that say, get rid of subsidies. They're awful. They're a handout. They're blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. Well, you know what? We built System 1, which I think is a pretty darn good system. But yes, how do we make things more affordable to get away from the subsidies? I think it's regulating heavier that industry. There's going to be a lot of people that are against that. And there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, we got to get rid of subsidies today. We need to extend those subsidies, and we need to slowly get these guys under control. That's a great example of where we're going to have to meet in the middle here. Subsidies are not going to be as large as they probably should be, and the regulation is not going to be as heavy as it should be. But if we're moving in the right direction, that's a compromise, and then you try to build on it. So that's how I see everything is, what's the end state that's ideal? For me, in healthcare, it's Medicare for all. A lot of compromise and steps have to be done to get to the best model of that. Right? It may not be the ideal model because we don't live in an ideal world. So that's a great example of how I'll compromise. I'll work with anybody who's willing to work towards affordable health care in a way that makes sense, even though it's not probably going to be my model. I mean, you got to compromise. So that's an example of how I do that. Was there a part 2 to that I forgot? No, I was just curious too, because when we flip the House and flip the Senate, we still have the Trump administration. So even if we pass through amazing things in the House and the Senate, we got to get it through the president's desk.
Yeah, and we're gonna have the majority to do that in the House. We won't in the Senate, but there are 2 ways to get legislation passed. And there's a workaround. Not everything has to go back and be, if he vetoes it, yes, you have to come back and do 2/3. That's a tough haul, especially in the Senate. It's going to be hard to do. There's another fun thing, though. If he doesn't veto it and he just refuses to sign, like he didn't sign the affordable housing bill, if the Congress is in session, that bill automatically goes into law in 10 days. So there's several ways you can do this, and part of compromise is to make something that's palatable. Here's what I'll tell you going into 2028, and this is for everybody on the call. Every politician wants to be reelected. politicians that have been strongly aligned with our president are going to be less and less aligned with him going into 2028 and are going to start voting for what they need to vote for. And I guarantee you, if they're on the wrong side of healthcare, which is getting worse and worse every day for every person in this country, if they're no thank you, my boss told me no, they're going to get voted out of office. So they're going to start breaking with the president on some of these issues, especially if they're core issues. They're not issues that are sort of culture issues. These are everyday issues that affect everybody. They're going to get in line because they have to, because they want to stay in office. And that's a powerful thing.
Couple questions for you as your campaign manager that I should have interviewed you on, before I agreed to this job. The first one, 20 years on submarines. What is one food you will never eat again that you ate on submarines?
I'm going to have to curse because it's the only way to say it. Shit on a shingle. It's basically stale bread that's so stale they can't do anything with it. So they put a fatty gravy sauce with some kind of beef, I think, kind of like nuggets. Never again. I ate it because you got to eat some.
Beef, right? We don't know if they're beef.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't.
Oh, SOS. Know. Okay, I got coached from the side. I'm sorry, folks. SOS.
Yeah. What is the best piece of advice that Deb has given you?
Oh, the best piece of advice Deb has given me. Wow. There was a lot of it. I'm going to go campaign because obviously this is, this is a town hall. It's be yourself, be your genuine self, because people like the genuine John. And that's been pretty special because sometimes I get a lot of advice to do a lot of things from a lot of people. And I just keep coming back to Deb, who keeps me centered in a lot of ways to just be you, John. People like you. They don't like you pretending to be someone else. So I think that's the best advice.
Rare day, no campaign calls, no events. What are y'all doing?
We're going to the beach. We used to live there, and we used to go there every day, and now maybe twice a month. We miss it terribly, but when we carve out a little time, we go to the beach. We used to live in the mountains, and we just wander in the mountains, but it's the beach. It's outside, it's nature, it's shoes off, touching the sand. It's our happy place.
Now, this question could decide, but voters could decide to vote for you based on this.
New York Yankees.
No, we're not asking that. Chicken bog or shrimp and grits?
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits all the way? You're not a chicken bog guy?
It's all right, but anything that has shrimp in it, I'm in. Anything.
Yeah. I mean, y'all have some good shrimp and grits in Congressional District 7. I don't know. We could have a Congressional 1 versus Congressional 7 cook-off with shrimp and grits.
Yeah, we'd win. Hoity-toity people down in Charleston, whatever.
Well, I'm going to let you do your closing argument. Tell the voters why you're the best one. Tell the independents, Republicans, moderates why you are the best and why you will be our future congressman.
Here's my unstandard. It's been an unstandard campaign with an unstandard person at the top of it being me, and here's my unstandard close. Don't let anybody tell you who to vote for. Don't do it. It is our sacred duty. We have the power. You vote Republican typically, you vote Democrat typically. You have the power to say no more or I like what's going on. 75% of the people in the district are worse off. Say they're worse off than they were 3 years ago. You're not locked in. You have an opportunity to say, you know what? Maybe it's time to try something different. 90% of the people in this country say Congress is ineffective. 90%. That means 10% say Congress is is doing a great job. 10% is the same number of people that say the earth is flat. Yet 90% of incumbents get reelected. We reward bad behavior. We not only retain the person who spits on our customers and steals from petty cash, we promote them. Folks, I'm not a dangerous guy. I'm a moderate, independent thinking person. And yes, I am a proud Democrat because the Democratic Party welcomes my diverse thoughts. They don't tell me get in line and do what we say. They embrace the fact that I'm a different kind of candidate. They support me because I'm a different kind of candidate. So yeah, I'm proud. But I assure you, I'm going there for 2 reasons: support the Constitution and the people of this district. God bless.
That's our future congressman, y'all. I got goosebumps when you did that, John. Oh, goosebumps. So good. Well, join the campaign, y'all. Go to vincentforcongress.com. Sign up to volunteer. We are knocking doors. We are making phone calls. We are writing postcards. We are hosting multiple events. I saw there are questions about future events. We are doing these live stream town halls. We are doing in-person town halls. You can catch John this Saturday at the Duck Pond Festival, at the Duck Festival. No, he's not going to jump in with the ducks in the duck pond, but
you never know.
You can catch John out there. Keep looking at our website to check events that we're going to be at. We have volunteer team calls. We have town halls. We have all that. And with that, I wish everyone a great night. And we hope to see you Sunday at our 100-day celebration. Sunday marks 100 days until Election Day, and we are having our 100-day celebration. Go to the website for details, vincentforcongress.com. Sign up today. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. I appreciate you taking the time. God bless.
Catch the Vincent